I'm Engineer Victor Bassi. I'm the one to handle you on health, safety, and environmental system. We're going to be discussing about safety today. I believe you're ready because I am ready. So please, if you're ready, pick your writing materials so that you can jot down some points as we progress in the learning process. Please, I want also to use this medium to ask that each of my students should be more serious because we might not have a lot of time. We're going to do the little I can to do the summary of the lecture for today. Our topic for today is Introduction to Health, Safety, and Environment. Under this topic, we're going to talk about the terms used in health and safety management process. We're going to also discuss about the health and safety, accident, exposure, fatality, harms, hazard, housekeeping, HRC, as the name implies, near miss, PPE, restricted workers, and others. These are the basic acronyms that are associated with health, safety, and environment. So, as a health, safety, and environmental professional to be, you are eligible to get acquainted with these basic acronyms because there's no how you work in any environment as a safety officer that these basic acronyms will not be coming your way. And most of the time, your report will be carrying this basic acronym. So our class for today is an introduction where we're going to talk about basically most of this acronym. We're going to also look at slip, trip, and falls, which are the basic methods, ways of exposing individuals to hazard in the working environment.
Please be patient. Your lecturer is having some technical difficulty, but will be back very soon. Thank you. Please be patient. Your lecturer will be back shortly, please. Please be patient. Your lecturer will join you soon. Please be patient.
All right, I'm very sorry for the break in transmission. It's because of a network issue. Please, I'm very sorry about that. I will continue from where we stop. Just like I was saying, uh, safety is simply the absence of risk or harm. And that simply means that safety is the absence of the likelihood that an accident will occur, or the absence of the likelihood of an accident occurring. That is what safety is all about. When we talk about harm simply refers to those hazards that should cause itself at the process of the incident. For example, we have injury, it could be death, it could be fatality, it could be permanent total disability, it could be permanent partial disability. Anything that could come as a result of an accident is called harm. Those things that are harmful and injurious to human health. So now safety is the absence of those very particular harms, like the death is the absence of death, is the absence of injury, is the absence of permanent total disability, is the absence of permanent partial disability. That is what safety is all about. So I believe this is the very simple method of understanding what safety is all about. That it is the absence of risk or harm, and that simply embodies so many aspects. That is the absence of the likelihood that an accident will occur, the absence of the probability of an accident taking place. So when those things are put in place to forestall the such occurrence, we said safety has taken place. Now we want to talk about health. According to our slide, we are told that health is the total protection of the body or minds of persons from injuries or illnesses resulting from materials, processes, and procedures used in the workplace. That is what health is all about. A state of a complete physical, mental, social well being with the absence of illness or disease is all about health. So when you are healthy, you should be able to work perfectly in the working environment. You should be able to have all it takes to do the work at a right time. So safety is the absence of risk or harm, while health itself is the state of a complete physical, mental, social well-being with the absence of illness or disease. So that is the little definition for the two of them. All right, now we want to talk about accident. We know what health is and we know what safety is all about. So it is now our incumbent on us to know what safe accident is all about. Like we have explained to you that harm is a result of an accident. When an accident takes place, somebody get injured, somebody died, somebody had permanent total disabilities, so many other things happen. We have also near miss in the process. So what is an accident now? An unplanned, undesired event that can result in harm to people, harm to property, and harm to the environment. So that is what an accident is. An unplanned process, an unplanned event, undesired event that can result in harm to person, property, and then environment. I want to draw our mind to these three basic words: people, property, and environment. That is what safety is all about. Safety considered the welfare of the persons, the property around us, and the environment. I always like to ask my students, let's assume we wake up one morning and discover that the entire green grass around our environment, the trees, all withers away. I bet you in the next 10 to 15 minutes, if such things happen in our life, so will also human beings drop one after the other, because our life is incumbent on the trees, the leaf that is around us, that is surrounding us, because our oxygen that we breathe in is from those leaves, and they also depend on us. You see that this life is interdependent. So that's why in safety study we consider people, we consider property, and we consider the environment. Whatever you give to the environment comes back to you. So accident here is an unplanned process, undesired events that can result to harm to person, to property, and to the environment. All right, another acronym I want us to look at is exposure. What is exposure? Exposure is simply the measurement of the time during which a subject is at risk from a hazard. When somebody is exposed to a particular hazard at a particular point in time, we said you have been exposed to a particular hazard. So at that point in time in safety, we consider the exposure of an individual to a particular work procedure. That is why when you're working in an environment, you are given shift, you are given time for work. You know when you resume your work and when you close your work. Why do we have this? In order to reduce exposure of this personnel to the work hazard. So exposure has a vital place to play in safety study. Then fatality, we know people have been using this word in several locations, but in safety, when we said we have a fatality, it means that there's death, that is death due to work-related incidents or illnesses, regardless of the time between the injury or illness. So whatever that happened, whether it is a long-term procedures or a short-term process, but so long as it leads to death, we said we have encountered what we call fatality. So as we continue in our study, we'll now get to know how we can classify accident. We have fatal accident, we have minor accident, we have major accident, we have disasters, and so on and so forth. But this is what you need to know, that whenever we discuss about fatality in the workplace, it means that we have recorded death. And it is not okay for an individual to cite the word fatal when we do not have death. So fatality stands for what? Death in safety management. Already have already explained to us what harm is, what fatality is, what fatality means, and what fatality is about. So now we are going to discuss So I was saying that health, safety, security, and environment goes hand in hand with health and safety. So at our discussion at the end of this training, when you're given certificate, you can as well work as a security person if you so desire to work in such environment. So your certificate that you're going to obtain here will also be discussing about the security. I know in the curriculum of these short courses, you are going to also be taught on security measure. All right, the next acronym we have to look onto is a near miss. What is a near miss? From our slide here, we are told that a near miss is an event where no contact or exchange of energy occurs and thus does not result in personal injury, asset loss, or damage to the environment. So I am simply saying that a near miss is an accident that would have occurred but did not. Something that would have happened but did not happen is referred to as what? A near miss in safety. So if somebody slipped through the wet floor or a slippery floor or a rolling object on the floor, and unfortunately or fortunately for you, you are able to regain your strength and stand up without getting injured at any point in time, it means that process was what? A near miss. You're holding something in your hand and the thing drops, and you use all the basic tactics you know to recover the object back to yourself without the thing falling and breaking. It means that was a near miss. So in safety, we regard near miss as an accident, because to every 10 near misses, there's that element of an accident, at least one or two. So that probability is there. So that in every aspect of our safety procedures, when you encounter any near misses, you have to include it in the list of your accident and then try to provide a preventive measure, a proactive measure to mitigate such occurrence in subsequent procedures. So that is what near miss is all about. An accident that would have occurred but did not, or an event that has happened and there's no contact or exchange of energy, does not result in personal injury or asset loss or damage to the environment. That is what a near miss is all about. Now, another acronym that is associated with health, safety, and environment is restricted workers. What is restricted workers? We are told here that restricted workers is work-related injury or illnesses that render the injured person unable to perform all normally assigned work function during a scheduled work shift, and thereby enabling the personnel or the director, the higher officials to reassign this job to another person, whether on a temporary basis or on a permanent basis. This simply means that I was supposed to be the anchor person for this training today, this class we are having. God forbid, maybe while on transit, something happened to me and I could not get to the station where I can present this, and I simply call the office. Ah, sorry, I could not make it though. And some other person is assigned to stand in for me, either in a temporary form or in a permanent form. It means that JPTS International has registered what we call restricted workers. And then Victor Bassi was supposed to anchor the program, but he could not. And some other person has been assigned to help him. That is what a restricted work is. In our advanced safety training, you get to know how these basic things affect the safety of the work, the outcome of the work. But for now, all you need to know is that restricted workers is a work situation that render the injured person unable to perform or discharge his duty. That is all you need to know about this. All right, we have discussed about the accident. We've talked about near miss. We said accident is an unwanted, an unplanned situation that can result in harm to person, property damage, or environmental damage. We've been told that near miss is an accident that would have occurred but did not. Now, we want to see what incident is. From our definition here, incident is an unwanted occurrence that is capable of causing or has caused occupational illnesses, injury, or death to person, property damage, or environmental damages, or a loss of company's reputation. This simply means that an incident is the outcome of an accident or near miss. Let's take for instance, I'm talking to you. Maybe as I'm going to and fro the classroom, I mistakenly hit or trip on an object, maybe a rolling cable or anything. And unfortunately, maybe I fell and break my hand, or I'm able to overcome it and still continue the class like we're having. At that point in time, the scenario that has just happened is called incident. It is in that incident we can now register that Engineer Victor Bassi actually fell down and break his hand. That is what an accident. Oh, I tripped and I overcome the slippery floor. I was back to normal. That is what a near miss. So incident is an unwanted occurrence that is capable of causing harm to persons, injury, death to persons, property damage, environmental damages. So incident embodies both accidents and near miss. Like I said before, risk is a measure of the likelihood that harm from a particular hazard will occur, taking into account the possible severity of the harm, how severe it is. is. So we'll discuss about the severity in our subsequent classes. We'll get to know how we can classify some basic risks. So what we need to know now is risk is a measure of the likelihood. I always call it probability of an accident occurring. So that is the basic acronym you need to know. We also have a others acronym like the Unsafe Act, Unsafe Condition. I want you to give me your listening ear, please. When we talk about unsafe acts, in every aspect of our safety procedures, there's a tendency that either unsafe acts or unsafe condition or act of nature will be the one that will cause an accident in every working environment. I said an unsafe act or unsafe condition or act of nature are the most predominant causes of an accident in every working environment. An unsafe act here is an act or a situation that deviates from the general recognized safe ways or specific method of doing a job. And this increases the potential for an accident to occur. I want to give you a very little illustration, a very simple example. You are asked to pass through the door to enter the house. That is a normal procedure. And you decided to use the zinc or the window. That is unsafe act. You're doing the wrong thing at the right time. So in safety, when you do the wrong thing at the right time, such thing you're doing is referred to as what? Unsafe act. You were supposed to tighten a bolt, a knot in a particular machine properly. Out of ignorance, intentional act, you decided to tie it loosely. You have committed what we call an unsafe act. There is a mixture, a ratio for a particular chemical mixture, maybe 2 is to 2 or 2 is to 1, and you are using 2 is to 3. That is what an unsafe act. You have deviated from the normal way. So when you deviate from the right process of doing anything, automatically you have committed what we call an unsafe act. All right. Now, unsafe condition is any condition or circumstances that is likely to permit an accident. I want to tell you to your first that when you perform an unsafe act, take for instance, you are losing a knot and you are not tightening the knot properly. You have committed an unsafe act as a person. That knot that is left in that machine on loose or untied, or yes, untied, is in an unsafe condition, because sooner or later the machine will be running, and instead of the machine producing and giving the effective production procedures, you'll be having some malfunctioning in the machine simply because of what? The unsafe condition. The loose knot in the machine is causing what we call an unsafe condition to that machine. It does not allow the machine to work effectively. So that is what we mean by what? Unsafe condition. Unsafe act is when you as a person perform the act and what you left during the wrong process will now cause what we call unsafe condition. So in some cases, I want to use my field, electrical, electronics. You're supposed to install a 2.5 for a socket and you're using 1.5, which is an unsafe act by you as a person. Then the 1.5 that is left in that socket has become an unsafe condition to the socket, because sooner or later somebody will come and plug something into the socket, and before you know, maybe like electric heater, it will be absorbing more heat, more voltage from the source, and thereby causing the socket to burn out or worn out. So that is an unsafe act, an unsafe condition. So these are basic things you need to know. While man hour is simply the total number of hours worked by a workers in a workplace over a period of time. I've been given 1 hour 30 minutes for this class. That is my man hour for today's lecture. So you as my student, you're also using 1 hour 30 minutes for this lecture. That is the man hour for the class. You go to work, you work from, let's say, 6 or 7 at most to maybe 4 p.m. in the afternoon. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. 8 hours is your working hour, is your man hour. So that is what man hour is all about. So in safety, we consider all these basic things. So you need to know their meanings and their function. Just in case you come across them or you want to give report, you need to use all these things. So you need to know the basic meaning and function of all the basic acronyms today that we have discussed. So that is the function of what? Man hour, a total number of hours worked by a worker in a workplace over a period of time. All right, safe working loads, that is SWL, simply means safe working load. As a matter of fact, it is self-explanatory. You know your capabilities and your limitations. You have the ability to mantle this machine. You go ahead. You don't have all it takes to mantle the machine, then you leave. There's no try by error process in safe working load. I am able to carry this load. The load is equivalent to my strength. I'm weighing 75 kg and the load is about 40 kg. Then I have all it takes to carry the load. But if I'm weighing 75 and the load is about 100 plus, then I cannot carry it. That is what safe working load is all about. You know your limitation and your capabilities so that you don't cause MSDS to yourself, musculoskeletal disorder. You don't cause a stress to yourself while you're working. So these are the basic acronym that helps you understand what safety is all about. I want to say ALAP is as low as reasonable practicable. It is referred to as the process of reducing the likelihood of an incident occurring to a minimization of the effect and the consequences of such effect or incident. HALAP is a process in safety that helps reduce, we cannot totally eliminate accidents, but we can reduce it to the barest minimum. That's why when you are working as a safety officer and maybe there's a near miss somewhere or a proposed hazard somewhere, and you are told by your superior boss or yes, anyone that is superior to you, that you should apply alarm, it means that you should look for the best and the minimal way of reducing the hazard. That is what HALAP is all about. You see, HALAP could come in various ways. We have some basic personal protective equipment, that is PPE, we can use to implement HALAP. In our hierarchy of control measure, HALAP is the last. You don't apply PPE on getting to an hazard or on recognizing that there's an hazard somewhere. You need to apply others measure. We have elimination, substitution, isolation, enclosure, and so on and so forth. Engineering method. So it's after you might have applied all this method, and it seems this hazard is still embedded in the work procedure. Then you can now say, let us use our personal protective equipment to overcome this. And the example of the personal protective equipment that comes in various ways, in various sizes, and in various methods of production are the hard hats. The hard hat simply means the helmet we use. The function of the hard hat is to ensure that if you're working on sites and other person are working on heights, there's that tendency that something can drop from heights. And if it drops, if it gets to your head, it punctures your head and you might be injured. Or it might lead to some severe illnesses. So what you need to do is that you apply the alarm by using the personal protective equipment called PPE, that is a hard hat. And when you put it on your head, if something drops, it will not get to your head. Rather, it will drop on the hard hat. And then the effect of such will be very minimal. Let's assume you're not putting on the hard hat and something dropped from height. It punctures your head and get to your brain straight. But because of the helmet you have used, the hard hat will have to reduce the effect that is coming. So it hit on the hard hat without penetrating your head. So the accident has taken place, but the effect is very minimal. That is what personal protective equipment is all about. It helps us to reduce the effect. Like the ear protection, we have the ear mop, etc., is used to protect the ear from excessive noise. When you use the hard hat, it enables you to reduce the sound that is entering your ear. Your eardrums might not be able to withstand some sound. As a person, we are told that the maximum sound we can listen to is 90 dB. That's 90 decibel. So anything above that, you are not able to withstand it. And you can use something to protect and reduce the quantity of sound entering your ear. And such is the ear protection or the ear muff. These are all called personal protective equipment. We have safety hand gloves, we have full body harness, we have a safety belt, we have a safety land guard, we have safety shoes, skills, and so many of these personal protective equipment. Their basic function are to help reduce hazard to a minimal level. If we have time, we'll still take personal protective equipment as a topic and we analyze them that they are in different sizes, in different types, and their function. But for now, all you need to know is that ALAP stands for as low as reasonable practicable. And the equipment that can be used to implement HALAP are the hard hats, the safety glasses, the ear muff, the full body harness, safety glove, and so on and so forth. So these are all personal protective equipment that can help us reduce the hazard in our life or in a working environment. So your duty as a safety personnel is to stay alive and healthy. So when you're working in any working environment, you need to apply this basic method, these basic safety procedures. If you look at the screen, you can see some basic hazard, some basic accident that have taken. Nobody wishes his hand to be like this. But if you do not apply safety in your working environment, definitely something of such can happen. So, as a safety officer, our duty is to ensure that we protect the life of the person working for us. We protect the property of those persons we are working for. And we also protect the environment to protect ourselves. So, these are the basic things that we have to discuss in Introduction to Health and Safety Management. All right, now, I want us to go straight to health and safety. What is it all about? There is this character I like to possess when I have one-on-one contact with my students. Before I will bring this, I will have to ask the student, why do you want to study safety? At some point, you need to hear some basic, different discussion from some person, the different ideas from some person, the different motive from some person. Some will tell you, sir, I actually saw my friend, or my friend said he was going for a class, and he or she has been telling me about it, so I just decided to come. And such person I said, you are not interested, you're not ready for this class because you do not have the aim of achieving what you have come for. You don't have a focus on where you're going to, but just simply because somebody have called you, so you just say, let me go. Maybe you want to assist the person to have a companion while attending the class and so on and so forth. So today, I want us to know the reason why we have to study safety. They are not much, just few. Number one, the reason why we have to study safety and health management is one, to prevent accident and injury. So put it at the back of your mind, as a safety personnel, your duty is to prevent accidents and injury. Accident to your employer, accident to your employee, depending on your status. If you're an employer, you have to protect your employee. If you're an employee, you have to protect your property that is given to you and or as well protect your employer. How do we do this? By implementing the safety procedures, the safety standard that will enable us to reduce this likelihood, this accident to a barest minimum called ALAP. So our number one motive of studying safety is to prevent accidents and injury. Two, to ensure the well-being. When we talk about well-being, we talk about health. Well-being of workers, whether a full-time worker, a part-time worker, a temporary worker, or a self-employed person, visitors, members of the public, contractors, or customers. That is the function of a safety officer, to ensure that the staff that are working here, whether they are temporarily or they are full-time, they are part-time, their health are in order. To ensure that the visitor that is coming to the site will not get injured because of the arrangement of our tools, equipment, and everything. So we have to ensure that this working environment is safe for the customer, it's safe for the contractor, it's safe for the employee, it's safe for the full-time worker, even yourself as a safety officer. So that is the second reason why we embark on safety studies. The third one is the physical environment, the behaviors of people, the competencies, and their work practice. We have to ensure that the physical environment is conducive for the work procedure. We have to ensure that the behaviors of the people around the work environment is such that we can work safely and leave the place safely. We have to ensure that the workers that are working with us are competent enough that we can handle, or we can allow them to mantle a particular work procedure with less supervision. And then we talked about the safe working practice. What are the modalities? What are the procedures? What are the steps that we can work perfectly and achieve our safe goals? That is what safety is all about. So I believe these few points will be able to convince you the reason why you are embarking on these studies. So I know at some point some person does come for the class without having a mindset of what they are doing. But I'm telling you today that if you have actually made up your mind to be a safety officer, then you must be thinking about how to prevent an accident and injury. You must also consider the welfare of people working around you, the employer, employee, the tools, the visitors, the customers that are coming in. You ensure that their safety is number one in your priority. Then you have to consider the physical environment. Is it conducive enough for us to work? You have to consider the behavior. You know, at some point, there are some working environment that they said there's no horseplay. Horseplay means that while you're working, you concentrate on the work, no side attraction. But you find out that in some working environment, this other person is serious, doing his work, and some other person is busy throwing some paper, some things, discussing at random, and causing distraction to the person, thereby leading to some basic accident in the working environment. So these are the behavior we have to cut out. That as a safety officer, we have to reduce such occurrence by setting what standard work procedures, ethics of the work, and it will help reduce and curtail some excessive in the working environment. So those are the basic reasons why we understudy health and safety management. All right, now let us see the influences on health and safety. What are those things that influences our health and safety? Number one, we have occupational factor. Two, we have environmental factor. And three, we have human factor. These are the basic influences to our health and safety management. How does occupational factors influences our health? I want to be very, very sincere to you. Occupational factors influences our health in such a way that, sorry, I was not asthmatic, but now I am asthmatic. Why am I asthmatic? Simply because of my occupation. I work with a particular construction companies whose mostly their duties are to excavate, do one thing or the other, and the consequences of it is air pollution, dust, and other chemicals that are mixed in dust. And you are working there 247 every day, every week, every month, every year. At the end of some years, you are diagnosed to have some basic cancers in your lungs. You were not born with this. It happened because of what your occupation. As we continue on your studies, you get to know what occupation is. Anything you do as a living, anything that sustains you as a person is your occupation. Anything that can injure you or can be productive to yourself can be referred to as an occupation. So those things you do, the type of work you see yourself, oh, you were not a pneumonia person, but you now have pneumonia simply because of what you work in an AC, a very cold environment. You like what we saw there. You were not having one hand, but now you are having one hand because of what amputation, because of one thing or the other. So these are the occupational factors that affect our health and safety. That in our working environment, the way we work, the work we do can affect our health and our safety. So that is the number one influence to health and safety management. While number two is environmental factors. That has to do with the condition of work. The floor is very slippery. The weather is very cold. You cannot withstand the weather. The environment is not conducive. It's full of pollution and so on and so forth. So these are the factors that influences our health and our safety. While human factors are our attitude and our behaviors. Do not run and you are still running. There is no horseplay in the work environment and you're busy distracting the other person. This attitude of ours does not correlate with safety and health management. So we have to find a way to curtail it. So these are the various factors that influences our health and safety management. We have occupational factor, environmental factors, and the human factors. So those are the three basic factors that influences our health and safety in the workplace. Now, we want to consider top three work-related fatalities. Remember, we have said fatality is death due to work-related incident that can lead to what injury, loss of life, and so on. So when we encounter that, we say we have fatality. And now, what are those things that can lead to what a fatal accident in the working environment? We have number one, fall from heights. When you are working on heights, there's that probability that somebody will likely fall down from height if the right things are not done. Mark my word. If you're working on heights and you do not use the basic safety measure, you do not have a scaffold, you do not have a safety belt, you are not wearing the proper shoe, there's that tendency that somebody will slip. And when you slip, when you lose balance above the height, there's that tendency that you're going to fall. And when you fall from that height to the ground, subsequently, we know it leads to injury, death, permanent partial disability, and so on. So this is the top three work-related fatalities. Some work that lead to what fatalities. Number one of it is fall from heights. Number two is stroke by flying or falling object. When you're working with a machine that is propelling, rotating, and like I said before, an unsafe act has taken place, somebody did not tie the knot properly, the knot was loosely tight, there's a tendency that that very particular shaft fan can pull out. And when it pull out, you know what will happen. If people are around working there, definitely somebody will be struck by it. And when somebody is struck by it, it leads to what injury, can lead to death, can lead to amputation, and so many other factors. So these are the very three basic work-related fatalities. Vehicle collision, stroke by transportation. Various times we've been hearing of accidents, especially at this moment. Everybody is busy traveling from one place to the other and losing concentration and so on, out of excitement, out of so many factors contribute to this. So these are the three top work-related fatalities. When you're working on height, the sure best is that you should be mindful of the step you take, the tools you're using, because definitely if you made a mistake, you're going to fall. And when you fall from that height, it leads to what? Death. When a building collapses, when a flying object flies at heavy level to an individual, you know what it means. Surely might lead to death. When there are collisions on vehicles, definitely we have fatalities. So these are top three work-related fatalities. Then we also have top three major injuries. Those ones that can lead to injury, that one that lead to death. This one lead to what? Injury. One, we have sleep. Two, we have trip, and we have fall. A slip and trip comes together. There's no how you sleep that you not fall. There's no how you trip that you not fall. So the two of them work hand in hand. Then we also have manual handling, stroke by flying objects or falling objects. So these ones lead to what? Major injury. Major injury is in the sense that you have to spend your days in the hospital. You have to spend your time in the hospital. You must encounter some injury, physical injury you can see. So those are the top three major injuries that when you sleep, you trip, you're definitely going to sustain some injury. Then we also have over 3 days injuries. Over 3 days in the injury in the sense that actually it might happen and you do not feel the impact as at when it happens. But subsequently, maybe by the next day, the next morning, when you wake up, you find my neck, my hand, my waist, and you begin to think, how did it happen? I actually came back from work yesterday. I was health and hearty, and I slept. And I'm just waking up this morning. I find that my head, my neck, my waist, actually It is as a result of what you have done in your workplace previously that is causing this. Let's assume you trip, and when you trip, what happened? You hit your body on the ground, and when you hit your body on the ground, you feel it's okay, normal. You get up and you clean yourself and you go to work. That very particular place you hit, over time, will develop some pains. So such pain is called over 3 days injury, because you might not feel the impact that day, but subsequently you might feel the impact. Then we have top three work related illness. There are some work that you do and definitely you're going to be healed. You'll be sick, sorry. Stress, musculoskeletal disorder, skin diseases, etc. These are the work related illness. And when you work in such working environment, you'll be stressed. You will have some effect to your bones and muscles. That is what we mean by musculoskeletal disorder. When your bones and muscles are not working effectively the way they used to be, then there's that tendency that you have encountered MS, musculoskeletal disorder. Then your skin, you begin to have some skin rashes, skin diseases, scratching, some whitish, some basic bacteria, and so on and so forth. These are those related illnesses that comes as a result of your work environment. So these are the basic fatalities, the major injuries, the injuries that can take place after 3 days, and the sicknesses that can come as a result of what your occupation, what you're doing. So safety is out here to ensure that all these basic hazards are minimized to the barest minimum. Mitigation procedures are put in place. Basic steps are also organized to avert this very particular hazard. So those are the basic things. Now, we want us to know what is sleep, what is trip, and what is fall. A slip is a term used to describe where the surface of the foot loses grips with the floor surface. So if the sole of the shoe loses grips with the floor surface and you actually fell on the process, it means you have slipped. It means you have slipped. When the sole of your shoe and the floor are not compatible, there's that tendency that you will slip. Either through water, through some rolling objects. So when that happens, it means slipping takes place. Trip means there's an obstruction on your walkway. You were walking uprightly and there's a pothole and your leg got trapped. There's a trailing cable, there's a foot mat, and your leg get trapped on the process. When that is done, automatically we said you have encountered trips. You have encountered trip. So tripping has to do with an obstruction on the work procedure, obstruction on the pathway of the workers. So when this happens, there's that tendency that you were upright walking straight, and all of a sudden one of your leg is entangled by some cables on the floor, rolling cables, and you lift the other one while the other one did not balance well. What happened? You have to fall down. So that's where fall comes in. So when you slip, when you trip, you must actually fall down. So where a slip or trip causes a person who was upright walking to fall to the ground or floor surface. We said falling has taken place. So, like I said before, the basic hazard occurrence in a working environment to personnel are as a result of slip, trip, and fall. Even when you're working on height, what will make you fall from height is either you slip or you trip. When you lose balance as you are walking, there's that tendency that you're going to fall to the ground. And it could be as a result of either you trip, you hit something and you lose balance, or you slip and you still lose balance. So there's that tendency that you fall from where you was to the ground. So these are the top three work-related incidents that causes harm to personnel. I want us to also consider causes of slip, trip, and fall. Sorry, at the appointed time, there will be that avenue where you can ask questions and I will answer them. But for now, I just want you to give me a listening here, listening to what I'm communicating. All right, these are the causes of slip, trip, and fall. There are thousands and million ways an individual can slip, trip, and fall. But the few we have here, can help you, can guide you, and show you what it means to sleep, what it means to fall, what it means to trip. Weight floor, number one, actually leads to what? Sleep. When the floor is weight, there's a tendency that the sole of your shoe might not be compatible and you can actually fall down. So, in your working environment, that's why it is always advisable that you mop and clean your work space frequently to avoid sleeping. So, if you are working where we have some oil, some water, and some liquids, please ensure that the working environment is safe for you by cleaning it up always or by wearing the appropriate personal protective equipment like the safety shoe. There's some safety shoe you can use to work in a sleepy environment. So if the water is constant or if the liquid is constant that you cannot do without it, then you actually have to apply the safety measure of wearing your safety shoe that can save you in such working environment. So a wet floor can lead to what? Either slip or fall. Then poor lighting, when you're not able to see the routes that you're going through in the working environment, there's a tendency that you're going to trip. You will trip and you will fall down. So tripping can occur because of what? Poor lighting. That's why in some working environment that is opaque, it's advisable that such place be lightened up with some bulb. So when that is done, you are able to see beyond your route. Oh, I am actually going straight. Oh, there's a corner, there's a bend somewhere. Or when I get there, I have to stop and bend. But when you cannot see, you might actually think that the road is very perfect and straight, and you keep going. Before you know, you hit something on the face. So you must ensure that the working environment is properly lighted. Then trailing cables and wire are also causes of slip, trip, and fall. Where there are cables on the ground, where there are cables on the floor, trailing all around. That's why even in our houses, we keep saying that you have the extension to help you plug one thing or the other. Then why don't you make it perfect by connecting it and directing it through the appropriate routes that people are not using frequently? Because if people are using that route frequently, there's that tendency that out of 10 person that will bypass the cable, one or two will trip on the cable. So even in our offices, we are advised not to allow trailing cables. If we must allow trailing cables, let us hide them under some conduit, hide them under some carpets, and that will help reduce the effect. So these are causes of what? Slip, trip, and fall. Then we also have uneven floor. Where you are walking, you have pothole almost everywhere. It is next with that, you have to seal some pothole to avert the trip or the slip procedures. Because when you have pothole, somebody is likely going to trip from it. And these are what causes of slip, trip, and fall. Using chair instead of proper footstool. You are supposed to use a ladder, a scaffold to walk on heights. But because shortcut is dangerous, and we African we so much like and love shortcuts, you feel so tired to leave your work station or your workplace to go to the store and collect a ladder to climb and mount whatever you want to mount. The next idea that comes to you is there's a rubber somewhere, there's a chair, bring down your chair. These chairs are not properly balanced and they are not designed for what you want to use it for. So there's that tendency that you're going to sleep or you trip on it. There are so many incidents where people use chair to climb a particular height and all of a sudden they slip or they trip and off they go with broken hands, injury, most importantly sometimes death. So using chair instead of proper step ladder or proper footstool is one of the basic causes of slip, trip, and fall. So we are advised to ensure that when we want to walk on heights, the height of any level can kill. Let me tell you. When you want to walk on height, ensure that the footstool you're using is effective. And when that is done, you also protect yourself. So these are the basic causes of slip, trip, and fall. Obstruction on the floor, walkway, people behaviors, running instead of walking, carrying too much load. Please don't always show that macho man. Nobody is there to watch whether you are matured enough to carry this load or not. Rather, all we want is execution of the job perfectly and in a safe procedures. So do not say, let me carry two at the time, at the same time, so that people will see I've finished my own fast, fast, fast. No, 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 no. That is not achievable in safety. Rather, pick it one after the other, spend the time and do the right thing, than rushing over it and causing problems to you and the management. So carrying too much load is one of the basic causes of slip, trip, and fall. When you carry too much load, you are not balanced on the floor. A little distraction on the walkway, you are definitely going to fall down. So it's advisable that when you're walking, ensure that you do not carry too much load. Use your safe walking loads, know your limitation and your capabilities, and work with it. So these are the basic causes of slip, trip, and fall. What is the cause of poor standard of health and safety? Cost in terms of money. We quantify it in terms of money. We are told here that when there is an accident, injury, fatality, diseases, and suffering, it will increase absenteeism in the workplace. It will lead to what? Poor morale of staff in that working environment. It will also lead to high staff turnover because of what? So many accidents, so many injuries, so many deaths, and so many illnesses and diseases in the workplace. It will also lead to what? Legal costs and fine. People will sue you, sue the company for violating safety rules. How? Actually, my brother, my sister, my friend worked with your company. When he came in, it was healthy and this and that. But because of the work procedures, now he has lost his sight, he has lost his hand. And as such, I cannot let it go like that. You have to compensate him. Simply because safety was not given its rightful place. So when safety are given the rightful place, legal costs and fine will not take place. Because you know what to do at the right time and you will do it. So we are told here that if you made a mistake in your safety management process, you're going to pay for it dearly in terms of cost. Because when accident takes place, when injury takes place, definitely legal fine and cost will come. Insurance will also have to take place. You have to insure some basic properties if safeties are not in place. But I always say to my students, if we have a perfect and standard safety procedures in the working environment, then we do not need any insurance cost. Because all these basic hazards that would trigger the payment of such, we have already put plans on ground to forestall them. When those things are not done, when we do not implement them, sometimes we have them, but implementation is the problem. That is where the problem comes from. So, loss of company reputation is also part of it. When your company lost reputation, you pay daily in terms of money. You used to produce 1,000 goods and sell them in a day, and because some people don't trust your company again because of some basic factors that has happened, and they say, I know I can't go there, I can't patronize this person. They start changing and redirecting their customers' mind to another place. You're not getting up to 1,000 again, maybe you are having 100 and so. At the end of the year, at the end of the month, you see that the quantity produced is very minimal, the selling process is very small, and you are not able to meet your target for the year or for the month. So it's also an area that has also reduced our monetary process. So that is when we talk about what loss of company's reputation. People don't believe on the company again. People don't patronize the company again because of one thing or the other. That place is a dead trap. Everybody that goes there to work. Look at to this last week. Somebody died last month. Somebody died last year. No, no, no. Nobody wants to work in such environments. So we are saying here that you have to build your company reputation by putting the safety modalities in place and ensuring that the implementation takes place. All right, prohibition and closure by regulatory authorities. When you're not able to meet safety demands, some higher bodies that regulate safety can close your company at any point in time. And before they close your company, you'll be asked to pay for damages. If you can remember the Gulf of Mexico and so many things that happened, if I've gone through that story, you find that at the end of it, huge amount of money was paid for that spillage to so many persons. the surrounding environment, the workers, the people that their farmland was destroyed, the water body, and so many. When you pay all this compensation to all these persons, the money you would have used in doing one thing or the other is gone. And these are in millions of naira and dollars. So we do not want this to happen. We have to put everything in place to ensure that we produce with a safety procedures and we make the right resources, which is the income. So these are the cause of poor standard of health and safety. When safety is not given its right, all this enumerated taking place. So we have to ensure that as safety officers, supervisor, personnel, we have to do our best to ensure that the working environment is safe for us, customers, visitors, and the rest. So now these are benefits of good health and safety to employees. If the place that we are working is safe enough, is healthy enough for both employees and employer, our employee will be motivated to work. I don't know if there's any person here in our class today that will see a place that is good, nice, healthy. You go to a place, maybe you are fond of AC and you have the AC at a normal price. Maybe you are hungry and you have the canteen, you can go and eat free of charge. At the end of the work, you have a car that will give you a lift from your work place to your house and come back again and pick you. I mean, when the welfare of the staff are given the rightful place, see that the employee will work effectively. They will be motivated. Sometimes somebody will not even have anything to do in the office. They say, after in the afternoon, I will take lunch. Let me just go to work and just come around to assist others person, thereby increasing what the productivity. At some point, when the work environment is not conducive enough, you see some people lied and said, I am sick, I am that, I won't be able to come for work. But in reality, they are not sick, just because of the working environment. So when the working environment is conducive enough, nobody will want to say, I am sick. Everybody will always want to be in the working environment. So these are benefits of good health and safety: motivation to work, confidence at work, better health, risk, a lesser risk of accident, and lesser absenteeism in the working environment. So those are the benefits of a healthy workplace to an employee. See, your employee will be happy, motivated, they have confidence that at the end of it, I'll be paid. When going there, I also have some benefit. You see them discharging their duty as a when due because of what the working environment. Safety has given them this mandate to be motivated, to have confidence, to better their health, and so on and so forth. So those are the benefits of good health and safety. Then that's to employee. To employer, benefit of good health and safety to employer increase productivities. Tell me how your staff are motivated with better confidence to work, working more than they are supposed to, or putting all their might to do the work. You will have a better productivity. There will be increase in that productivity. If you used to produce 10 and they are happy, you see them producing 10, 15 because of what? They are happy. But when they are not happy, they will not do that. So if safety takes a right course at the working environment, employee will stand to benefit in terms of what? Increase in productivity. And when there's increase in productivity, there's increase in profit. You used to sell 10 and now you're selling 15 because your staff are happy working for you. Then you make more profits. Happier and better motivated workforce. They are happy and you see them doing their work at every point in time. Less time taken off work. Some people will not even want to go out because they know, let me just sit down here. Why am I even doing that? What do I even need outside? If I need snacks, it is there in the office. If I need water, it is there in the office. Whatever I need is at my disposal. So why taking that time to go and get outside? And on getting outside, I will have to go and meet some person that will have to discuss. And I now actually forget I was doing something. Before I could remember, time has gone. But when those things are within the periphery of the person working, see them getting in touch with those things and doing the actual work. So it benefits the employer when safety is given its rightful cost. Fewer problems with health and safety. I always like to talk about this. As a safety officer, I know sometimes we are being paid higher than every other worker that is working under us. But our work sometimes is very little. All you do is monitoring, caution, ensure implementation. Do not do this. It's not safe for you. It's not safe for the company. Do this, it is safe. Do not use this procedure. It's not safe. Use these procedures. You document when somebody do not actually adheres to instruction. You caution. You query such person. Then at the end of it, this person are the actual person working, but your own duty is to go around, monitor what they are doing, and give a report. And the end of it, you're given higher pay than them. But I want to also tell you that there are some situations that when the higher pay comes your way, you have more problems. The problem you will have is that some staff will begin to hate you simply because, hey, today this man every time he calls, will not allow me to do my work. Every time do this, do that, use this, use that. What is it for me to go to store and get the ladder? Is very far. I have to stretch myself. With that time I'm going to store and coming back, I can always climb up here with these two and then get what I want. But he said no. By the time they see you coming, they start finding themselves their face, and they start hating you if it's a working environment where you have haters. They start hating you. Sometimes maybe because one person has been listening and has heard into instruction, he or she listen and follow the procedures. And every time you come, that person is in the right track. You allow the person to work. Maybe they are the one that is stubborn and they do not want to do what you want them to do. And you're cautioning them, you are taking them away, you are sending them away. They said favoritism has taken place and they will start hating you for that. So when safety takes place, let's assume you have 3, 4 tools and you have only two workers. Yes, you have enough tools for them to work. 4 tools for 2 workers. You can choose the one you want. But when you have 1 tool for 3 workers, you know what it means. Somebody might have the probability of taking it today and taking it again the next day. The other person will start calling that no, it's favor to this person because of one thing or the other, and they start hating you. So these are the problems we encounter as safety supervisor, safety instructor, safety analyst, and whatever safety you are likely going to face this problem. So when everything are in place in terms of safety, most of our safety officer will not have any problem. Simply because you need a ladder, it is there. How many do you need? We need 4. Okay, we have 6. At least we have space. When you don't have enough, it becomes a problem. Who uses the one that is available? This one will say, this one is using it in the morning. And so you want me to come and work under the sun. It's very scorched. I will not be able to work, and so on and so forth. So it is pertinent that safety takes its course and the employee will also benefit in this very aspect. All right. Now, I want to talk about Health and Safety at Work Act. Sorry, we may not be able to continue any longer. My time will soon be off. I want to use this medium to advise that you read your material. We are going to meet again subsequently by next week. That should be in the afternoon, maybe from 2. The few basic information I'm given to you, I want to implore you to go through them. We were actually discussing about introduction to health, safety, and environment today, where we discussed about the terms used in health and safety management. We've been able to analyze and explain what health is, what safety is, what accident, what exposure, what fatality, what harm, hazard. We've not talked about housekeeping, we'll do that. We've talked about near miss, we've talked about PPE, restricted work tests, unsafe act, unsafe condition, safe working loads, ALAP, incident. We've talked about what health and safety at work mean. No, we've not talked about that. That's where we're supposed to go. We've talked about the influence of on health and safety, major causes of fatalities, talk about slip, trip, and fall, accident ratio. We'll discuss about that. So I want you to take your time, use your material, go to the journals, browse, and get more information about this. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Safety is in a multi-dimension. We have safety in different ways. We have occupational safety, environmental safety, fire safety, and so many others. So you need to, you know, get acquainted with all these safety acronyms. You need to know them as a safety officer. It will help you in one way or the other. It will help you in communication. It will also help you in your work procedures modalities. It will also help you in your work procedures standard process. So it is pertinent as a safety supervisor, a safety person to be, that you get acquainted with all the necessary safety procedures that is needed. There are some rules and regulations, there are some laws that you need to know. Thank you for being a part of today's class. I hope to see you again next week by 2. God bless you all. Thank you.